Well, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Papa's Workshop. These are for Adam, Brady, Luke, and Brenna. But before we get started, we need to check in with my assistant. Hey, there she is. Ready for action, right, girl? Ready for action. Oh, that's my good Molly. Yeah, that's my good Molly. Oh, you like to have your ears scratched. Always ready to get petted. Let's get to work. All right, you ready? All right, so I've had a little time off, a little vacation. I had surgery for a cochlear implant, and I think you guys already all know this, but I had, I guess if you can see not much of a scar left there, but just right there. So they had to cut behind my ear, peel my ear back, and drill a little hole through my skull, and to get to the cochlear, or the cochlea, I think that's a part of the inner ear. It's a little corkscrew shaped thing. So they put an electrode up inside of that, and then there's a piece that's buried in my skull, or in my scalp here, that you can't really see or feel. And in another week I'll get the external part, and so then I have to relearn how to hear again. So it won't be perfect right out of the chute, but that's going to allow me to hear, something I've really struggled with this last year. So we're finally back here in the shop, and here's where we're at. I'm going to kind of review for myself, if nothing else. We got the sides already, or cut the sides, and we did the slots for the dovetails, the sliding dovetails. We did the front frame piece. We got that all straightened out, and I went ahead and I fitted these back pieces to go into the backs like this. If I can get this one to go in there. So they all fit in the back, and you can see I cut the mortises. My next step is to cut the front part of the drawer dividers, the blades. I need to cut that profile, but before I cut the profile, I wanted to do those mortises while it's still flat, right? Because I'm gonna have to make this profile on the front edge of it. So I went ahead and did that, and that's going to be for the shorter cross pieces that are going to go in those mortises this way for the drawers to run on. So we won't do that till later. I just did the mortises while I had before I put the profile on that. And then of course I got all these dovetails fit down here, so that's just a straight dovetail. We don't have to put the chamfer on it. So my next step is to I've marked the blades, the curve. I'm going to cut them out on the bandsaw just about a 1/16 of an inch away from the line, and we'll put our template on there. And see, here's how this is the template for the blades, and you can see that I'm gonna it's stepped right along with the other, so that's why I had to do this first. So we got that all set, so let's go ahead and cut those out. All right, we got those 4 cut out, so they're all rough shape. So that's the bottom, the 3 dividers, the 3 blades, and then the top, the top above the top drawer, that's flat, because the shells that we're going to have to carve, that ends up being these up and downs as the shells. So the top one we don't have to do anything with right now. So I need to tape this on there, but since these are cut to length, I cut everything to length that was going to be horizontal in the case so that they're all the same. Did that all at once. But I have to position that template perfectly. It's one of the drawbacks. But even if I did this first, I'd have more problems trying to cut it off perfectly. So what I'm going to do, first off, the template is slightly narrower. See, when I line that up with this back edge, I'm almost 1/4 of an inch off. So I got these little boards. What I'm going to do is stand this on edge like this. And the orientation is, you have to maintain the same orientation. If this colored part of the template is the top side, so then I need to do the top side of each divider so that there's consistency. No matter how perfect I did this, it's not the same if I flip it around. So for consistency, I got to do that. So I got a stop block. I got this board that I'm going to be able to push against, and then I've got 2 stop blocks to help me get it positioned. And then I put these underneath the template so that the height is closer to this up here. And see, so I should be able to just put the tape on there and then keeping it against the stop and then just push it in there tight. So that's the plan, and that will make it repeatable for each one, and we should have no problems. So let's put some tape on these guys. I made the template longer than the board itself. Since we're using this as a routing template, not just a drawing template, that way the router bit will go straight out. There won't be any risk of going around the corner, which would ruin the piece. So I'm just putting some double-sided tape on there. We got to get the paper part of it off. Doesn't take a lot. The shear, the force this way, it's pretty strong. You know, you can pull them apart this way, but you can't really pull them apart sideways. So it doesn't take a lot, and it works pretty well for this kind of stuff. Other people, you know, nail it on there or screw it on, something like that. But this will work just fine. So I'm setting it down on my little blocks. I got it against my stop, and I'm just going to bring it in there slowly. Till we got it. I'll make sure my marks are all still good. All right, so you see, we got just that much we have to route off. We use the template as our pilot and just go over that pattern. And then we'll do that for the 3 other ones. All righty, so that's the last one. Get the template off of here. So now what we need to do is, I don't have to do a lot of smoothing on this because we're going to route a recess to form our 2 beads, and then the bead has to be rounded so that this surface on the edge is not the final surface, so we don't have to worry too much about it. But I do need to sharpen those corners. I mean, I don't need to for the router, but I need to know where I'm at. So I'm going to use the drawer template. I got to cut it off and set that on there with that 1/8 inch down and draw where my lines have to be so I can cut those corners, get those corners sharp in those 4 places. Then I gotta take care of any rough spots. This looks like I might have had a rough spot on my template because each one of them's got a little bit of a. So I need to smooth that out a little bit because I'm going to use this surface as for the pilot bearing of the router bit. So again, if it's not smooth, it won't be smooth where it's cutting. So got to do all that. Then we'll be ready to do the bead. Progressing. We got them all. Got all the corners sharp, and it's all lined up with where the drawer fronts are going to be. So now I have to put the bead, and actually it's just going to be a square that we're going to turn into a bead at the end. So what I'm going to do is take a router bit like this. So this is a 1/2 inch tall, and the difference between the bearing and the cutter is only 1/8 of an inch. So this will be in the router table. We'll set this so the top of the cutter is 5/32 below the top of the board, and we'll make a pass, and then we'll flip it and make another pass so that the slot will be just a little bit over a 1/2 inch and be centered. All right, that's kind of, so this is from a different project, but this gives you the idea that we've got, this is going to fit right in there like that, and we're going to end up with 2 little raised areas right there that later on we'll round those off into the bead. Now the only things that make this a little interesting is that the top and the bottom and the 2 sides only have 1 bead. So we have to make a pass. If this was the bottom, we would going to have to make a pass down here like this to get rid of what would be the other bead. Since the bearing is on the top, it has to be where the bead's going to be. So we'll have to make a pass down here, raise it up, and then make another pass. Now all the boards are the same thickness except for the bottom is only 3/4, and these other ones are about just over 13/16. So we'll have to adjust, do that one separately. And the sides, we've got the slotted dovetails in, so we need to put it up against the fence so that the bearing doesn't go into those holes. So the progression will be, we'll do the sides and the top and the bottom. We'll do that first edge first, and then we'll set the height for the 5/32 bead on the bottom, which is a narrower 3/4, and we'll do that one by itself. Then we'll set it for the 5/32 for these thicker ones, and then make the 2 pass, the pass and flip on the other thing. Then we should have that bead all set, and then we'll be all set to make the matching chamfers to fit that dovetail. We got that all done. So we got each of the, that's the bottom, seeing it's got just the 1 bead, and then these other 3 all have the 2 beads, and then the top is straight and it has 1. So we got those all done, and I did the 2 sides. So we've got the bead on the inside, and then I went ahead and did the rabbet in the back. It's a 1/2 inch deep this way, and then at the same depth as the dovetails, and then we'll have the case back, we'll cover that all up. So these will have to be cleaned up. You see the burn marks in there. Cherry burns really easy, and it's hard to go. It's all a matter of feed rate and the speed of the bit. You know, if you linger too long, it's going to burn. It's hard to do those little nooks without slowing down, especially when you're going uphill, when you've got the grains going this way and that bit's turning this way. It wants to pull that up, so you don't want to be too aggressive. That might pull the whole thing up. So, but even if the burn marks weren't there, we'd still have to scrape that, sand that all smooth to get the machine marks out of it. So, and we won't worry about rounding the bead till at the end. And I really don't have to clean that up right now, but at some point I have to clean those all up. And so now we're ready to work on making the dovetail, the tail part of the dovetail. We did the pins on the sides, so we got to do that, and you know, the depth is critical of getting that to be able to fit in these slots, and then still have that 45 come out where the beads are. So that takes a little bit of setup. I think for today I'm just going to work on these for a little bit, and then we'll call it a night.